You're listening to the Easy Feed Podcast, episode number 1. I'm Karina Savage, and with over 20 years experience in feeding kids, including my own, I've learned all the secrets that busy mums need to get their kids eating better and improve their nutrition, while spending less time in the kitchen. This podcast will show you exactly how to take the stress and worry out of feeding your children so that the load is lifted off your shoulders and you feel happy and confident knowing your kids are healthy. This is the Easy Feed Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into the Easy Feed. I am your host, Karina Savage, and I want to say thank you for being here. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing a bit about me and my journey and why you want to be listening to me and what you're going to get out of it. Some of the most relevant and important things about feeding kids we must be paying attention to and we must be learning and mastering are often not talked about. And I'm here to share those with you. I've had this compelling urge over the past few years to create this podcast for you, and I'm so excited that finally it's coming to fruition. It's been a while, but I'm so excited that it's finally arrived because my mission is to motivate and empower mums with feeding kids. Goodness knows, as busy mums, we have enough on our plate and feeding kids can be a real punish. So my role is to make sure that no mum ever feels defeated and alone with feeding her children, because seriously, parenting is hard enough and we all need to support each other and lift each other up, and we just need people in our corner. And I'm here to be that person for you, that feeding kids expert. I've been around for a while now, 21 years as a paediatric dietitian and mum of 2 who have been a little bit fussy themselves. So I'm here to cover a whole lot of goodness for you in the feeding kids department. So we're going to be covering a whole lot of things, from how to get your children to start eating healthier foods, how to boost the nutrients throughout their day, how to become a label reading guru, healthy snack ideas, you name it, we'll be covering it in this podcast. And of course, I'm open to suggestions. So please let me know if there's a specific topic that you would like covered. So how are your kids eating these days? Are you happy with how they're eating? Well, if I answer that question honestly for myself, I'd say that we are getting there and we've come a long way. My children are now 9 and 11, and boy, it's been a journey. But my mission is to shorten that journey for you, so it's not 11 years of your life feeding children that you are feeling a little too frustrated. And I'm here to shortcut that feeding journey for you and get your children eating better more quickly. Because as parents, we want our children to eat well. But unfortunately, no matter how we try, how much we try, our efforts do not always correlate to our children being good eaters. So just because you're spending hours, finding healthy recipes and shopping and spending so long in the kitchen trying to cook these healthy meals, it doesn't mean that your child is going to eat it and be healthier. And it drives us nuts, doesn't it? Because we can literally feel like we're wasting hours and hours preparing and cooking for kids, and it doesn't necessarily work. So what is the secret juice? You'd think that the more effort we put in, the more we got out, right? The more success we would have with our children eating. And look, some lucky mums do have that experience, but I can't say I've had that experience. And speaking for the thousands of mums that I've spoken to over the years, a lot of us don't experience that luck or that light meal times where children just have fun and they just eat. So how do we change them? How do we get them to start eating healthier? Well, that's why I'm here. So, you see all those Instagrammable lunches and dinners on social media, and that can make us feel crappy because you just think, if only I could cook like that or prepare that, then that'd be healthier. But let me tell you, that is not the case. It doesn't have to be Instagrammable. I'm very big on that because I'm all about keeping it realistic, keeping it doable, keeping it practical for the busy mum. because it doesn't necessarily work anyway. So what I tend to look at is the bigger feeding environment, bigger feeding ecosystem, because it's not about just putting broccoli on the plate every night. That's not necessarily going to get your child eating broccoli. Look, it might help. And that's certainly perhaps what we will get taught at uni as dietitians, to say just repeated exposure, that's what's going to work. But, I speak from experience, and, you've got your own kids and you've probably tried that too. And it's not necessarily going to work. So what I'm here to do is to scratch the surface a little bit. I'm going to be talking about things that you might not hear about on other podcasts, because it's looking at that whole greater feeding ecosystem or environment, which not only looks at, what's happening at dinner time at the dinner table, but it's also looking at our own mindset, our own confidence as mums, because that plays a huge role in everything. Our own mindset and our own approach to feeding children makes or breaks, at dinner time. It makes or breaks how our children behave around food, how they think about food, because as parents, we are their teachers for everything in life. Good luck to them. And feeding kids, we need to teach them about food. We need to teach them about healthy eating. And I realized how I approached meal times and eating, encouraging my daughter to eat. It probably wasn't the most effective way to actually get her to eat new foods. And, I've taken 11 years, the best part of that time, to really refine and work out the best way. And that's what I'm here to do, is to share that with you. So it's not just talking about the practical stuff at dinner time. It's a lot to do with how we show up as mums, how we're feeding our children. And of course, I'm going to give you all those tips and tricks along the way, and, what to look for and what to not. So I'm going to arm you with your own feeding toolkit so that you're more able to feed your children healthy, and you've just got that information. Knowledge is power, right? So often as mums, we feel super guilty when our children eat a lot of junk, and some mums tell me that they really feel like a total failure. And I think a lot of the time we link our self-worth to how our children eat. Certainly I've been guilty of that, and I don't think that's fair. It happens, but I don't think that's fair. And it's often hard to separate the two. It's hard to separate how our children eat and behave around food and our own ability as a mum to parent them and to nurture them. Because as a mum, we have an innate ability or an innate desire, I should say, to nurture our young. And we want them to be nourished and to thrive. And it's not only human nature, it's nature of all kinds, the animal kingdom, right? Any animal, whether it's a gorilla or a cow or a bird, they want to feed their young and they want them to thrive. And so when your child doesn't follow suit and doesn't eat like you think they should eat to be healthy and to thrive, then that throws a curveball at you. And that curveball, so to speak, can really rock the boat, and it can rock your confidence as a mum, and it certainly can bring a whole lot of stress and worry, not only at feeding time, but all throughout the day, because it makes you feel like you're not doing a good job as a mum. It makes you feel worried that they're not getting enough. So this stress and worry can have a massive ripple effect, and it can extend throughout the whole family too, because sometimes often I find, mum and dad will have disagreements or arguments about the best approach to feeding little Johnny. And sometimes dad will have a different approach to mum. Maybe one's more forceful and the other one doesn't agree with that. And I've certainly had families that tell me that they've actually pinned their child down to feed them. Or I've also had families tell me that they gave their child, or they tried to bribe their child with $50 to try to eat something. So, there's huge different approaches in families, and sometimes parents will have different approaches between them. And when that happens, that can bring about a lot of stress and disagreements between the parents. And then, that unrest and that argumentative sort of vibe at dinner time can then extend throughout the day. And sometimes, the family's just not as happy as it could be compared to when, or if you are having connected, happy, light, fun family meal times together. Because look, in our busy lives, there's not many opportunities for us as a family to come together to connect each day. We're often pulled in all different directions. And look, I appreciate that it's not always possible for both parents to be home at dinner time. I completely appreciate that. So often it's not always the happy family sharing dinner time together, but if that can happen, then amazing. Or if it can happen on the weekend, then amazing, because that is really valuable time. And there's a whole lot of really solid evidence about the social and emotional benefits of families connecting and coming together. And dinner time is a great opportunity for that. But, it's not always possible. And we'll talk about more about that in another podcast. But I just wanted to share a little bit about my story now. As I said, my children are now 9 and 11. But if we rewind to when my daughter was young, she was super, super fussy. And look, she's getting there now. But back then, she really didn't eat meat. She was low in iron. She actually had a blood test because, well, I'll expand on that in a little bit. But she was definitely on the lean side. And I had, grandparents saying, she's a bit skinny. And I'm like, I'm a pediatric dietitian. I should be able to nourish my child. So not only as a mum, but as a healthcare professional who specializes in that area, how do you think I felt when I had people saying, oh, she's a bit skinny and she's, she only eats cheese and pasta? So, I was feeling pretty crappy myself too, because I had this skinny little iron deficient fussy eater staring up at me. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? So my confidence was pretty shattered and was pretty rock bottom. And my mindset was not positive. And my perspective on feeding her was really, I guess, of the vibe that it was a struggle. And I just felt like a failure, to be honest. So what I've realized is that I wasn't necessarily a failure. It was just how she was. But if I'd done things differently, I think I probably could have created a slightly more positive sort of mindset and vibe, which then would have meant that she probably expanded her intake a lot quicker, which would have then reduced my worry and stress and feeling of being judged and all of that comes with, kids that don't eat well and mums who worry about their kids who don't eat well. So, I think I would have saved myself years of battling this and comparing what she ate to others and wishing like I could have started all over again. And that's why I'm here to try and shorten that time for you. So if I had her now, knowing what I know now, I'm positive it would be completely different. I'm positive that she would have had a different feeding experience. And again, it's not just, putting veggies on her plate, because, I could do that. It's all the stuff that you can't see. It's all the hidden little things. It's the mindset. It's the approach. It's the vibe. It's the energy. It's how you talk about food. It's all those little things that are actually the big things that really play into whether a child is actually going to try food or not. So all these little secrets to success feeding kids is what I'm here to share with you. But as I said, they're not just the physical things. It's a lot to do with our own confidence and our mindset and our energy, because they are sponges. They absorb everything from us. And it's not just the physical, the words, the look. It's all of the subconscious. It's the energy. It's the vibe that you're exuding. They pick up on all of that. They are sponges. And, people talk about frequencies and the mood and all of those things the kids pick up on. And that absolutely makes or breaks a mealtime. So that's what I'm going to be talking about, as well as all the other practical stuff. And we're just going to make it fun and keep it light. And hopefully this motivates you with your own children. So I just wanted to, dive into a little bit more about what we'll be talking about. I am a huge gut health geek. I spent 10 years as a pediatric dietitian, specializing in gut issues and complex gut issues in a children's hospital. But, I've always loved the gastrointestinal tract and digestion and absorption. So, yes, I will be delving into that because, to be honest with you, gut health is the center of our systemic health. And that's not just for children, it's for adults as well. It starts right when you're a baby. It starts when you're in utero, actually. And we could talk about this another time. But certainly your gut health plays a huge role in your development, your risk of allergies, your risk of obesity, and also the reducing your risk of, problems as an adult. So I'm going to be talking about gut health throughout these podcasts. I'm not going to talk about every podcast, but certainly feel free to throw any questions you've got at me about gut health, because I will certainly love to answer them. So yeah, that's something else we'll be talking about. But anyway, back to confidence. I just wanted to let you know that this podcast is really designed to help build your confidence feeding children, because as I said, the thousands of mums that I've worked with over the past 21 years, a lot of them have actually confessed to just feeling completely lost around, how to go about feeding their child, especially when their child is fussy, and how to set up a healthy eating plan that will get them on the right track. Now, I will take this moment to pause and let you know that this is the exact reason I have created a Nourishing Kids membership for busy mums who want to feed their children better. It is a complete A to Z toolkit for getting your child to eat better, more nutritious foods without the food stress and spending less time in the kitchen. So you can find out more about this Nourishing Kids membership in the show notes. Okay, back to confidence. So as I've said, as mums, we want to have the right mindset and confidence and beliefs around feeding kids, because if we don't, then things aren't necessarily going to change. It's not just about making healthy meals. So you'll find me talking a lot more about that as well. As a nutrition professional, my job is to cut through the clutter for you, sift through all the reputable research and turn it into practical, doable information for mums. And I'm going to do just that for you, whether it's looking at how much salt a child needs, or how we can boost a child's iron intake, or how we manage constipation. I'm here to inform you, motivate you, and empower you with feeding your kids. So hopefully we all have a newfound energy and approach. So it's going to reduce that daily grind of feeding kids. Okay, I'll start to wrap things up shortly, but I wanted to let you know that everything that I talk about in this podcast are things that I'm still practicing. So I am certainly not perfect, and my kids are certainly not perfect eaters, but gee, they've come a long way. When I find things that are working, I integrate them into my life and my family, and I plan on sharing them with you. My plan is to show you perhaps a different perspective with feeding kids, one that I know for sure will help you to feed your children more easily and reduce stress and pressure at meal times. And look, every day is going to be different. There's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days, but you got to cut yourself some slack. Life's too busy and life's too short to, try and be perfect all the time. I know that social media, can certainly play into that and make you feel rubbish because you see everyone succeeding and doing well, and look, they only post the good stuff, right? They don't post all the crappy stuff. Well, not many people post the crappy stuff. So you, without realizing, I think you kind of get brainwashed into thinking that's the norm and that's, what normal kids eat. But let me tell you this, normal children do not eat all the colors of the rainbow. My children don't eat all the colors of the rainbow. They'd get close sometimes, but certainly for much of their life they have not eaten all the colors of the rainbow. So hope that makes you feel better. If nothing else makes you feel better from listening to this podcast so far, I hope that makes you feel better. So my goal is to help you move your child closer towards eating more colors of the rainbow, help you perhaps boost your child's iron intake or protein intake, or just get them eating healthier foods. My goal is to get families together again where possible. If it is possible for you to eat together, or at least one of you eat with the kids, that's my goal. I think we really need to try and place more importance on daily meal times together because it's so crucial. And when we do sit down together, I want us to be focused on happiness and gratitude and not necessarily getting another bite of carrot into them, because we need to be focusing on the important things. Oh, I could go on forever, but let's just say this is to be continued. So I'll wrap things up. Thank you so much for being here. And if you like what you hear, please make sure you subscribe to this podcast. And once you've listened to a few, if you really do receive some valuable information and you're just feeling this is valuable for you, please leave me a review so that it helps others see the podcast and help others. Have a great week. Bye for now.